So we cover a wide range of things. The primary function for the agency is serving as a workers' comp insurance, workers' compensation. And so what that deals with is when people are injured on the job, pays for both medical bills, and then if they're unable to work for a period of time, will cover the lost wages during the period of time that they're off work, or if they actually need to be retrained into another type of job because they're unable to keep performing, we'll take on that piece as well. We also cover all of the workplace safety within our state, and so there's both consultations and compliance inspections to ensure that workplaces are safe. And we also cover a wide range of sort of other activities such as licensing trades like plumbing and electrical, and covering wage and hour enforcement, ensuring that people receive minimum wage, receive overtime when they're due to that.
For us, the primary piece that we're looking at is workers' compensation fraud, and it takes three main forms. One is employer fraud, which is people, because in Washington State, all employers have to have coverage for their workers. So you have to cover for workers' compensation purposes. So if they tell us they don't have workers, if they tell us they have 2 or 3 workers and really they have 20 or 30, or if they tell us that, oh, we just have clerical staff when in fact they're out there logging, then that's all forms of employer fraud. We also have worker fraud, which is that somebody files a workers' compensation claim. They claim that they were hurt at work when really they weren't, or they legitimately were hurt in the beginning, but then they get used to getting that check and they find a job under the table and they're working while at the same time drawing that check, claiming that they can't work because of their injury. And then the third type is really provider fraud. So, and it's fairly rare, but it does happen, where you have medical providers, doctors, or other types of medical providers, or interpreters, or people that tell us that they either, they bill us for services that they never did. So they say, okay, well, I saw this worker 3 times, and really they saw them once. Or they do things like they see the worker for a simple procedure, charge us for something more expensive and more complex, that kind of thing. So we look at it as kind of a 3-legged stool of, we've got the employer side, the worker side, and the medical provider side. It's a mix of manual and homegrown technology. So about 2004, we reorganized and did a lot of work to try and get better at doing this kind of thing. Our customers were telling us that preventing fraud was really, really important to them and that they didn't think we did it very well. So we reorganized, added a few staff, and then just tried to do a lot of things in-house. So for example, started using our data warehouse to do some basic types of data runs. Things like if somebody filed a claim but we don't have record of the employer, guess what? They're going to get an audit. Things like that. And so we did a lot of things in-house. We've done we're now on about the 5th year of a long-term technology improvement process. And so we've kind of done, I think, as much as we thought we could in-house with a little bit of help, and it was time to get some bigger partners that have real expertise in this area.
And what we're moving forward with is really part of a new suite of solutions that SAS has, which is called the SAS Fraud Framework. It's grown out of years of work that they've done with banking, with insurance industries, but really trying to come up with a much more comprehensive end-to-end set of tools to be able to help detect and prevent fraud. In other words, find it if it's going on, or help try to find it very early so we can take care of it before it becomes a big deal. And really this is a new area, and some of this is very new technology. It's a growing area because people are realizing just how important this is, that preventing fraud, for someone like us, for an agency like us where we're dealing with insurance, is a core function. It's not just something that you do but you don't talk about or you don't spend money and invest on. And so really it helps. What we're doing is finding an end-to-end solution that can help us detect it if it's a single individual or a single company, but also help us find networks that are doing fraud, where people have really gone beyond just an individual that might be taking advantage or thinks, well, maybe I can get a little bit more money from this claim, or I'll just report a few less workers, save myself some money, and find people that have really grown into big rings that are doing this really as their business and trying to find ways to cheat the government. And so we're really pleased to be able to do this. This is very advanced in terms of where a government agency is right now, out in front in terms of workers' comp. And while the solution hasn't been implemented yet, we're well along the way in terms of the planning and development stages. And the first pieces will really be live this fall and at the beginning of next year.
And really we're doing more than one thing with this process as well. So the first piece was we plan to use probably 20 or plus data sources. So information from other agencies, information from, so for example, we'll take our workers' compensation claims data and we'll match that with construction inspection data and match that with our Department of Revenue data. We will actually be using IRS data and using that mix of just different sources to find out where there are just pieces that don't make sense. So somebody that tells us they don't have any workers, yet they tell our Department of Revenue that they're doing $1 million in, whatever type of work that they're doing, or they tell us there's no workers, yet they tell the IRS that yes, they do have workers because they get a tax deduction for it. That kind of thing. And so part of it is just getting all of those disparate data sources into the same mix where we can use them, we can get the data to talk to each other and find those gaps. The second piece of the technology is really around creating a comprehensive view of a single employer in this case. And we're starting with the employer side because we just, as the project. And really the idea is take all the information that we have about somebody and put it in one place. Because right now I've got staff that, they log on to upwards of 24 different systems to go do investigative work. Because they're looking at different agency stuff, they're looking at we do go online, and it's amazing what people will put on their social networking sites. But what we're trying to do is get a comprehensive view in one place. So research that would take us a half an hour, 45 minutes now, that we can do in 30 seconds. And then the final piece is what Carl was talking about, which is the true detection software, which is using analytics, using some artificial intelligence pieces, some feedback loops to say, okay, these are the folks that you ought to take a look at. And our idea is really to try and get the right information to the right people to take action and make things happen. And kind of leave people alone if they, nobody likes to get audited, so we want to leave people alone if they're doing the right thing as well.
In fact, this is something that we spent some time on a few years ago and did a study jointly with two other agencies within our state. An agency that oversees taxation and benefits for unemployment insurance, as well as our State Department of Revenue that deals with all the rest of the taxes in our state. And we worked this out jointly and used some methodologies that have been developed by the IRS to try and find that gap. That's a common question, is how big is the hole? How big is the problem? What we estimated is across all three of our agencies, it's about $150 million a year of tax gap between businesses that are completely underground, completely unregistered, off of our radar, or potentially only partially above ground, but might be with one agency while trying to tell someone else that they aren't in business or that they don't have any employment, or in other ways underreporting their work. Already we're at a point where we're finding about $24 million a year with our audit program, and that includes some of that homegrown, detection work that we talked about. In the course of time, since we started doing that work in-house, we've tripled what we've been able to find, from 8 million to 24 million. And so we believe that moving to this level of analytics with SAS and what we're doing right now, we will again see quite a leap in terms of what we're able to detect. What we're committing to right now in terms of what we'll be able to find is about another 6 to 8 million on a yearly basis, and it would have a return on investment in less than 2 years. It might actually be quite a bit better than that, but we're trying to be conservative since we don't know exactly what we're going to find.
Right.